Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, October 6th, Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board meeting. Happily, we have a quorum. We have 2 members who are ill and not here this evening, but we have 5 of 7, so we're able to proceed. We all have received the meeting agenda. I don't know of any changes, so the agenda stands as it was posted. We have received Jim's meeting notes. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Needing something?
Second that we accept.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. You treat me and thank this one. Oh, that's better. Maybe not for you, but it's better for me. So, you also have received in draft form the minutes of the September 15th meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to make?
Move to accept.
Motion to accept, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I have no correspondence or announcements. I would just say that Tom and I and other people that I'm aware of attended the training session in Hyde Park, put on the Planning Federation, and I thought it was very well done, and I certainly got a lot out of it. And for those of you who haven't taken your training or haven't done this one in particular, I think they plan to come back to Hyde Park every year. That was my sense of it, and I think it's well worth it. And so in the future, if you see that come up, it was very, been at this a while, and you think you know everything, and then you realize you don't know half of what you thought you knew. And for people in the audience who are interested in planning, Planning Federation does a good job statewide, and they have good websites, they have good training that are up there, that you can take lunch and learns, which I wasn't really aware of. And so, anyway, I give a plug for that in the future. So we have 4 new applications this evening, and I think we'll jump right into them. The first is Terry Small, 188 Rhinecliff Road, for site plan review for the construction of a pool and garage. Yes, would you like to come to the microphone and explain what you'd like to do?
Say again, I apologize. What'd you say?
Please give us your name, and we'll put the project up, and you can explain what
there
you'd
you go.
like to
Yes,
do.
I'm Terry Small, owner of 188 Rhinebeck Road. I'm looking to construct a garage and pool. That would entail removing the current shed and car tent, as well as 4 trees. And I am on a scenic road, so I'm here talking to you guys about getting the permit moved forward.
Okay. Jim, do you want to give a little more detail on this?
So we're looking at the plans to put in the garage and pool back here with the surround and the fence, and then the garage will go where the shed and the tent is right now. I did have a couple questions about the project. So looks like you applied for the New York State DEC jurisdictional determination back in April. I don't think you heard anything from the DEC, is that right?
Yeah, actually they never got back to me,
Right.
but it's been over 101 days.
Okay.
I have proof of that. I submitted that as well.
Okay.
And did you submit the letter at 90 days? Okay. All right.
So we're good there.
It's all in that packet.
Just for the board's note, there are 3 trees proposed to be removed. 2 of them will come out for the garage and 1 for the pool. They are larger trees. 2 of them at 20 inches, 1 that's at 48 inches, but that one is labeled as being dead at the moment, so just something to take a look at. One question I did have is where the pool mechanicals were going to be located. I didn't see that.
Mechanicals actually are right here. You can see them right next to the garage.
On the little pad.
There's a little pad right there for it. And it will be the power will be right there as well.
We'll have a roof over it. It's just going to be a concrete pad with the pump in it.
Concrete pad, yeah.
There was a note that the wood tie retaining wall will be removed, and excavated soil will be used on site as fill. It looked like, based on the plans, that you're proposing to use that soil to kind of regrade over in this area, so I didn't know if you had any more details on kind of what the plans were for that.
Right now there's a retaining wall. Initially 2 owners before me, in the place where you can see retaining wall was, there was a garage. The garage was removed and made into a little place to perform a wedding. That retaining wall's still there. I talked to the surveyor about it. The surveyor questioned why it needed to be removed, why couldn't the grading just go on top of it? I said either way. You brought up that question before, and I prepared to bring in a 20-yard dumpster container, remove it, and then just grade it down if it needs to be removed.
The pool fill, the dirt you're gonna remove for the pool itself, that will be used to fill that area?
Yeah.
You're planning all that being used?
Correct. It's to match the current grading.
What else? I just want to note for the board, there are fence post lights proposed, as well as a garage light. The fence post lights are proposed to be solar, which would seem to indicate to me they'll probably be on, essentially all the time in the evening. They're the type that sit on top of the, they sit on top of the post for the fence. So just something to think about. We are on a scenic road. We are on a scenic road. This is behind the house, but it is proposed to have those on the top areas. So your typical kind of cap light. Doesn't seem to be dark sky compliant, but they will be on every post around the pool, just so it will be lighting up. At night, the light that is proposed on the garage appears to be dark sky compliant. I don't think there are any issues with that. So I only have one other question, which was that a plan note said that the siding will be determined by you, and there does not appear to be a note about the roofing material. So I was just curious if you have plans for what you propose to do for the siding and the roofing.
Match the house.
Okay, what's on the roof right now for the house? Is it metal or is it shingles?
No, it's cheap.
Those are just a couple.
You would want that added to the plan?
If you want it to be, I mean, we're not, it's not a historic house, we're not in a historic district, and we are in a scenic road, but I just wanted to just ask because it wasn't a note, but it wasn't clear. So if you wanted to make that, ask for that, we could do that, or just have it. So it's really just some clarifying questions.
Planning board members?
I guess the only question I have is, with the garage being at its location, do you plan on doing some kind of cabana or like anything off the back of the garage?
A cabana off the back of the garage?
Or something just
No,
around the
right
pool
now.
area for shade or anything like that?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a garage.
It's just better if you plan on doing it in the future, even if you don't plan on spending the money today, but it might be 10 years, it's better to put it out there now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just thinking out loud for you. Because the placement of the garage is kind of nice to create that. pool.
Yeah, I'm on a limited budget, so
Got it.
I don't see it anytime in
All right,
the future.
fair
Yeah, I'm gonna have the garage provide the shade.
Got it.
Yeah.
Those umbrellas are nice. You know?
But I did ask about that for the mechanicals for the pool. They need to be covered. I was thinking something needs to cover it, but they actually said no. They prefer it not covered. So yeah, but that's a great question.
Definitely.
The last meeting, somebody brought up, is there gonna be water in the bathroom? I'm like, again, great idea, but no, I can't afford that right now, and I don't see that happening.
So you're replacing the existing car tent?
Correct.
It's going to be two bay garage?
Correct. Yeah, 2.5. It's like,
And the doors will face like behind the house, like you probably won't see them driving up Rhinebeck Road in either direction, right?
correct. Yes, so this would be,
So I see, okay.
yeah.
So it's two bays and then you got like a.
This view is from the road. You see this view from the road?
Yeah,
And this is actually facing the neighboring farm.
okay.
You would not see that.
Yeah, and then you got the one on the side there for like the lawnmower,
Correct.
smaller stuff, I suppose. Seems like a good plan. You're gonna have gutters and something to divert water from the roof to something?
Yes. Yes.
Just on the ground or?
Right now,
Property?
yes.
Okay. All right, you might want to give that some thought about
Okay.
where to direct the water off the roof.
And what is the fence going to be around the pool?
I can go back. There's cement decking immediately surrounding the pool, and then after that will be the fence. See the post? This is an example of what it would look like. This is obviously not my pool, and not, but it would be a wooden fence with black netting, so you can see through it, so it's not obstructive to neighboring people going up to the backyard. and it would, instead of dirt and grass, it's actually going to be cement decking up to the fence itself. New York State compliant.
I guess we'll see this on the site plan, but I'm wondering what, to go back to the site plan.
You see
what-
the postmark on it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there are trees that separate you from your neighbor. Just thinking of the pool use. Are there, is there landscaping to the right of the pool? Are there trees, shrubs, whatever?
Yes, there's trees here, there's also ornamental grasses. I had arborists from Cage Trees, come out and inspect the trees. Informed me that the two that are here, they're actually the largest of the four, but this one is actually hollow, and there are animals living in it, and this one is half dead, kind of threatening the house. So these two are actually sick as well. And if you come and do a site inspection, you'll see that the leaves and the canopy is not so good. So
What kind of trees are they?
maple. I have two other maples behind that are big.
That's all for me.
Anything else? Jim, I think you have a draft procedural resolution.
Draft procedure resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Terry Small for site plan review under Town Code Chapter 125. This is also wetlands, wasn't it? Site plan and wetlands? This was actually site plan and wetlands, because you're within the wetland buffer, right?
Yes, because we have
For construction of the pool and garage at 188 Rhinecliff Road within the RM1 zoning district, accepting the application supporting documents is adequate for further review. Classifying the action as type 2 under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. We will schedule the public hearing on the application for November 3rd, no earlier than 6:05 p.m. We'll send it to the CAB, WAC, and Dutchess County Planning, and we need 2 planning board members to do the site.
Thanks.
All right. Have a motion, and I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carried.
For the meeting,
Oh, yeah.
November 3rd.
Okay, someone will be in touch with you to schedule a site visit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Have a
time.
good evening. Next new application for this evening is that is Shankar Pura, 517 Primrose Hill Road, site plan review and special use permit for ground-mounted solar. Anything?
Good evening. My name is Sheldon Jacobovich. I represent New York State Solar Farm. I'm a solar consultant with them. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about Socor's project for solar batteries and a device that acts as a set of main breaker switches that are Wi-Fi controllable.
Took a look at this. The only thing at the time that we wanted was adding some topography to the plans. I don't know if we have on the site plan. But generally speaking, other than that, I didn't actually see any issues with the proposed installation except the possible need for some screening from the neighbor to the east.
Well, take a look at there's in one of the things, there's a LiDAR view.
Here, that's right here, this car.
Well, there's a LiDAR view that shows the trees, so it can't be seen from anywhere else in the other properties.
So anyway, so what I was going to say is that the site visit would obviously, be able to tell you whether or not there was anything that needed, but it seemed like, at least from an aerial view, there might be a little bit of an opening here, because they're kind of coming back in here. These are the cones representing where the panels would be. So there's a little bit of an opening through here, but otherwise it's heavily wooded from the neighborhood. But the site visit will be able to determine if everything's in here. Otherwise, I didn't really see any issues.
But you still need topo?
No, actually, it is on there, which is on the second sheet.
Oh,
It's
okay.
on this one here. That's what the red lines represent.
Planning board members? Pretty straightforward. Okay. And Jim?
All right, procedure resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Shankar Kura for site plan special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 for installation of ground-mounted solar at 517 Primrose Hill Road within the RC5. Accepting the application supporting documents is adequate for further review. Classifying the actions unlisted under seeker for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Scheduling the public hearing for November 3rd. We'll send this to the CAB and Dutchess County Planning for review. We need 2 planning board members to do so.
I will go.
I'll go with that then.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the draft procedural resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Would you like the members to be in touch with you to schedule the visit or the owner?
They would be in touch with Rose Truss, Claire, she's our permitting specialist,
Okay.
and she's the one that submitted the documents to you. The question, if I might, at the November 5th meeting, if everything passes at that point, are we able to get permits at that point?
Well, theoretically, yes. It's going to depend on, Jim generally has a draft approval resolution ready. It will depend on what people see in the field and if there are any comments. It will also depend on whether or not there are any neighbors that come in and raise questions at the public hearing. Usually, if it's straightforward and we're ready to go, but if there's public concern, then we'll address that. So it could go out another meeting beyond
I
that.
can understand that, but, so there is good likelihood that if everything proceeds properly, and there are no objections, that November 5th meeting will
Possibly.
gain.
I don't want to get ahead of myself.
It's
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get feedback for the people that sent me here.
Sure.
We have some concerns about timing. We'd like to get it installed this year, and we'd like, because it's a ground mount system, there's preparatory work that has to happen in terms of getting things set up. Don't really work once it gets, the ground gets frozen.
Well, we'll do the best we can.
Thank you so much.
Okay. The third new application for this evening is that of Benjamin Floyd, 46 Will Trumper Drive, site plan review and special use permit for an accessory dwelling unit. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tony Amendola. I'm representing Ben. We built a pool house on his property, and now he would like to make that like an official guest house. Which the house is, the pool house is pretty much done now as far as phase 1 goes. The downstairs is completely done. He's got a half bath. The upstairs is completely unfinished. So essentially, if you guys gave your approval, he would be finishing upstairs of the space, putting a mini split up there, 2 windows, so that would serve as a bedroom, and then he'd be doing a shower downstairs and a small kitchenette.
I got it, Gretchen. I got it. Sorry, this was one I had issues opening up. So this is a lot off the end of a cul-de-sac. This is just south of the village. It is a pool house, I guess it's currently under construction. So
Yeah, like phase 1 of it is basic, like what he wanted to do originally is now done. So it's just an open pool house, fireplace in there, that was all permitted, it's complete. We haven't had the final inspection on that yet, which we can do to close that CO, but now he wants to do phase 2 and basically get it approved where it can be like an official guest house. His in-laws can stay there, he can have guests stay there, which would basically mean finishing the upstairs, doing a little kitchenette, and adding a shower to the bathroom.
Yeah, so I took a look at it. Originally, we'd asked for dimensions of the building and things, but it is already constructed. They aren't on here. It is what it is, but it is already constructed. Didn't really see any planning-related issues. It did appear to be well away from neighboring homes. It is well back onto the property where it connects to the cul-de-sac. There's a house over here, and there's another one somewhere about here. So it's really just converting that existing structure to an ADU on the property. It is a pretty large property, but most of that actually goes back in here and it's deep sea wetland and it's not touched. Back here it's under an easement.
Yeah.
With the discussion of it being used as an ADU, again, it's already in place, the structure's already in place. So other than that, I need to see approvals, and you need to get county health.
Which I believe the health department approved Mark's plans already.
Yeah, we're gonna want to find out when that was, just because things have changed in county health recently in
Okay.
terms of how they do things and the procedures.
Yeah.
So we'll just confirm that before the public hearing.
Okay.
If you can send us some information and that will.
Yeah, I think Mark sent me an email like Thursday or Friday, so it may have just happened that his plans were approved.
And it's a 4-bedroom house, and what does the septic system accommodate?
So the septic system is getting expanded to accommodate this new ADU. Basically, the field, they drew it up so that all the fields are expanding a certain amount. So there'll be new infiltrators going in to accommodate.
It'll accommodate 5 beds.
Yes, yeah.
And typically, we see floor plans, right, for accessory dwellings?
We would.
I thought, so the floor plans are not in the folders that you guys got from us? It was just the site plans? I have a set on here, only one set if you guys want them.
No, we can submit it.
Okay,
So this would be the proposed floor plan for the
Yeah.
accessory dwelling. Great. Okay.
No, I don't think it's not in the set, I don't think.
okay.
So, but you, by all means, you can submit that. And you were talking, Jim, about a cover letter explaining the project?
Yeah, we did get that.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, other planning board members?
Existing structure. We're bringing it.
And the health department's really the concern.
Thanks.
All right, Jim, approval resolution, or excuse me, procedural.
Draft procedure resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Benjamin Floyd for site plan review under Town Code Chapter 125 to convert an accessory structure to an accessory dwelling at 46 Wool Temper Drive within the RC5, accepting the application supporting documents as adequate for further review, classifying the action as type 2 under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. We'll schedule the public hearing for November 3rd, no earlier than 6:05 p.m. We'll send it to the CAB, I'm not sending it to the WAC, that comes out. And we'll send it to Dutchess County Planning, and we need 2 planning board members to do a site visit.
Okay, I have Tom. May I have a motion to accept the draft procedural resolution? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carried. I'll be in touch to schedule it, is it?
Okay, and that's something that I should be present for, I would imagine?
You probably should be,
Okay.
but it's fine if the owner's there as well. Or instead of you, whatever works out.
All right.
Who should we contact to schedule?
You guys can contact me, I believe Gretchen has all that information.
Okay.
Cool, thank you so much, guys.
Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
The last day application for this evening is that of Daniela Gallo McCausland, 134 River Road, site plan review for renovations.
Hi, I'm Danielle. Hi, I'm Catherine Farrell. I'm here on behalf of Farrell Contracting. We are the contractors representing Daniela and Sam, the homeowners of 134 River Road. So their plans are to renovate an existing structure. We are not planning to expand the footprint whatsoever. And the architect, who is actually Daniela's sister, has thoughtfully put together plans that keep all of the integrity of the home in, like, we're trying to be as thoughtful as possible when it comes to renovating the structure. There are some things that need to be done to bring it up to code and make it last hopefully for another 100 years. It's a 20th century farmhouse, and the only major changes that we are making to the home itself is they are hoping to expand the kitchen space because the first floor of the home is kind of, as most farmhouses, very closed off, so they're hoping to open up the floor plan a little bit on the first floor and add a powder room because there's only one full bathroom. And then the other hope is to enclose the existing porch that is already there. There is no proposed major site work to be done. One large tree has already been removed from the property because of its proximity to the house. It was actually causing structural damage, and we need to do some reinforcing to the foundation. And that tree had already been removed by the homeowners before we kind of came on to the project. The house is on River Road, but it is very far set back. Like I said, there are no other trees being removed, so their house is not visible from the road itself. And to the neighbors to the front that are actually closer than this home to the road are kind of visible. That's pretty much the scope of the project.
Okay, Jim?
Okay, took a look. I listed 10 items, kind of explained what's going on. There's quite a bit happening on this project. I have a couple of questions about those.
Sure.
Excuse me, but the first one was, I think we had talked at the pre-conference meeting about getting the New York State DEC jurisdictional determination because there's a wetland behind the property, and we followed that paperwork?
Yes, they
Do
did.
you know roughly when that went in?
Back in like August, late August or early September.
So we'll just need, for the public hearing on November 5th, just get that date so we can
Yes.
determine when 90 days is, and then just know where we stand in terms of
Okay.
scheduling out.
I'll let Danielle know.
Obviously, we're on scenic roads, so an item for the planning board review or any changes to this property as it pertains to the view from River Road. I took a look. I didn't do a site visit or pass by, but it doesn't appear that the changes result in any significant changes to the view from River Road, but obviously a site visit will help determine that. I'm not going to list out everything that I had in terms of the work taking place here. If anyone has a question, you can let me know, but I did have a couple questions about that. You had a couple of the windows labeled as will be removed and stored. Didn't necessarily say exactly what was happening with those. Is there a proposal that like some might be reused, but maybe not all of them? I couldn't place what every single window was going
We're
to go.
trying, the hope is to reuse as many windows as possible. A lot of them are severely damaged. So the hope is to use as many doors and windows as possible. That's, so Daniela and Keenan, my husband and the owner of Farrell Contracting, they went through, they labeled everything together, and they're working with New Beginnings windows and doors, and they're trying to match any windows that cannot be reused. They're going to match and try to preserve the historic look of the house.
And the reason I ask, and the reason I'm asking the next question is the house is not listed as historic in the
Yeah.
town, but it is an old historic house. It's just not
Yeah.
listed as historic, so we do want to talk about, just maintaining that historic integrity, which you obviously brought up.
Yes.
So one of my other questions was related to the siding. There's a discussion of siding being replaced with white hardy board lap siding at the front of the home, but another note stating that new siding will be put on the addition for the back porch that will match that of the original home in character. Is it all going to match? Is it going to be different? How does all the siding come together?
So we're trying to use historically appropriate wood or wood-clad materials for the enclosed porch. Danny is really hoping to keep all the siding as is. Unfortunately, as she went in and did some exploratory demo with her partner, the siding is not in good condition at all. And as we're trying to bring everything back up to code and talking about, we have to re-insulate the whole home, everything, we're going to use as much as we can and then match everything with historically appropriate wood. But so no siding has been removed significantly. Just anything that's like rotting needs to come down. But Danny really wants to keep as much of the siding as possible, even if we say that may not be the best choice for another 100 years of the home.
But in the end, it's your intent to have it look uniform.
Yes. The intent is to make everything look uniform.
And then the last question I had was just related to the, that back porch. I think it has screens there now. It looks like they're proposing to put windows in, but it wasn't entirely clear.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have windows on that porch to kind of close it in so that it's an all-season porch. The screens that are there are pretty deteriorated.
Is this an original porch?
Yeah,
And is there any evidence
So.
that it was always enclosed or not enclosed?
I am unsure of that.
Probably the information we want to gather on a site visit.
Okay.
Because generally closing in a porch was intended to be open is not something
Yeah.
we would love.
Yeah.
So the more we know about that. Do you know if there's any photographs of the house that exist?
Yes, we have some that
Not
we.
current ones, but historic ones?
Oh, that I do not know. I can ask Daniela, and if she has anything, we can send them.
I guess the only last question, knowing that those are windows, is there an intent then to insulate this whole room so that it would be habitable space?
I believe so, yes. Because, like I said, those screens are all existing, and it's, when you do the site visit and you see it, it already feels enclosed because it has a roof. I mean, it's just kind of in shambles. You wouldn't necessarily want to be out there in the winter. So it's already mostly enclosed, it's just not well enclosed.
So I guess the only comment I would have that you've heard from me before is that for creating new space, it's habitable space, it could potentially be considered a bedroom. You may have to discuss that.
Okay.
Look at the floor plan.
Certainly heat, yeah.
What he was asking if it's habitable.
Yeah.
I don't think, we're not planning on doing any like mini splits in that porch. The mini splits are not planned to be out there, so then technically it would just be heated if the door was open to the home.
So you don't have to have planning on putting any HVAC in the.
I do not believe that they were planning on putting HVAC or any baseboards in that enclosed porch.
Well, that would answer that question.
Yeah, because they're planning on doing just mini splits throughout the home. And really, it's such a small space, they were hoping to do one large unit on the main floor and a unit in the bedrooms.
Are the mini splits on the plans?
Yes.
So if you can just make sure, just confirm that to be the case.
Yes.
If this becomes habitable space that would be heated, then by code, the town board has to determine whether or not, the town planning board, I'm sorry, has to determine whether or not this can be used as a bedroom, which then starts the discussion about septic sizing and things like that. So
Sure.
that's where that comes from. In terms of the heat pumps, I don't remember seeing. You know, she's there.
I believe they were trying to hide them all.
We can look at the public hearing. Catch that. That's a good question. So for the public hearing, if you can let us know, if there are heat pumps proposed on the outside of the structure, they should be shown on the plans.
Okay.
So you point out that the existing stone foundation, which I would assume is part of the historic structure, is proposed to be supported by a new reinforced concrete wall.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have details on that? How that's,
They should be.
And I brought that up because I know we have had discussions about that in the past with historic basements, made from stone, in terms of how that's done, looking into the Secretary of the Interior standards. So I'll leave that to you guys.
planning board members.
Site visits in the UK.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Jim?
Another draft procedure resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Daniel Yellow Consulting for site plan review under town of chapter 125 to undertake renovations of 134 River Road within the RA10 zoning district, accepting the application supporting documents as adequate for further review, classifying the action as type 2 under secret, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. We'll schedule the public hearing for November 3rd, no earlier than 6:05 p.m. We'll send it to the CAB, WAC, we'll send it to HAPAC, even though it's not a historic property, just to see if they want to give us any input, because it is an older historic home, and Dutchess County Planning, because it is a site plan review, and we need 2 planning board members to do a site visit.
I'll go.
I'll go with Vic. May I have a motion to approve draft approval resolution?
So moved.
Ms. Vigo. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. We need to schedule a site visit. Perfect. That concludes the new application portion of this evening's meeting. We'll move now to public hearings. First being that is Andrea Novak, 349 Rhinebeck Road, Irish subdivision, 3 lots. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening. So it's my understanding we just continued this public hearing until tonight. I thought at the last meeting, all items were discussed and satisfied. I just want to note one thing, I'm a little remiss, and I need to get to Jim, the easement agreement for the common driveway and also for access to the one parcel. I'll do that, and I'll also draft the deeds for each one of the parcels. And I'll get that to Jim next week.
Jim?
So I believe we had agreed at the last meeting, on my notes, to do the seeker tonight. So we need seeker tonight and then the approval of future meetings. That's what we discussed. I got the minutes, it's on the 15th meeting. Yes, we're going to do, tonight we're going to do the seeker for this project, and then on October 20th, we're going to talk about the subdivision special use permit. That was what we had talked about last month.
Okay.
Everyone's agrees with that, that's the schedule. So if the board is ready, we can go through and do the seeker part 2, as unlisted action.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
Can't wait.
I know.
Let's see this one. Okay, so we've done many of these before. Seeker Part 2, short environmental assessment form for unlisted action. First question, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No.
Will the application, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics caused by the establishment of CEA? We don't have any in the town, so that's a no. Will the proposed action result in a adverse change to the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walking?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy or fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation and renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the application and action impact existing public-private water supplies or public and private wastewater treatment facilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in the adverse changes to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
So with those all being answered is no, or no or small impact may occur. We have a seeker resolution stating that the proposed action is seeking approval for a minor subdivision and special use permit from the planning board. Andrew Rhinebeck is proposing to subdivide an existing 19-acre lot into 3 lots. The town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, in its role as duly established lead agency under seeker and upon review and completion of the short EAF form and associated information, issues a negative declaration under seeker, deeming an environmental impact statement is not required and stating that such will not be prepared in consideration of the minor subdivision of this parcel. Taking the action, the planning board approves the project to move forward, in this case, to discussion of approval resolution at the next meeting. And the proposed actions are approved for implementation subject to that approval resolution in 2 weeks.
Your motion? Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Who proposed the public hearing on this? Corrections?
I think so.
I didn't think you did.
I didn't think we did.
No, continuance.
All right, so let me ask if there's anyone here from the public wishing to comment on this application. Any planning board members, any comment at this time? No.
I move we close the public hearing.
I have a motion, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. And then we're going to continue.
Well, that's what we said we would do at the last meeting, just so you can do a final review after this was done. We'll do it on the 20th.
Easy.
Is anyone feeling that there's anything to review at another meeting?
I think we covered it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim, do you have draft approval resolution? Of course you can.
Just one thing for the board, I just wanted to reiterate that, for the, obviously, Andrea lives in the middle lot, 4B. So the way that, and so the other 2 lots can file separately to the health department for approval. And so some of the information, like, obviously I'll continue to show the common driveway, but health department will not allow, I'm going to do it as a permission to file with the health department. So I will not show the location of the individual driveway or, proposed house from septic as they do. So if the board wants, I'm preparing individual applications to the health department for each one of those 2, lots to be constructed. I can always provide that information, but it's basically what I've shown so far. I just wanted to show complete, plan to the board, but health department won't need, and if I file as do have permission to file, I can't show that information. I just want to bring that to your attention.
Okay, it's noted.
Is there any more for approval?
I believe that's what I'm
Yeah, it's the using that.
hearing.
So, approval resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Andrea Novick for a minor subdivision under Town Code Chapter 101 and a special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 for conventional subdivision of an existing 19.92 acre lot and 3 lots at 349 Ackerhook Road within the RC5 zoning district. Reaffirming the prior classification is unlisted under seeker, for which board environmental quality review is not required. Seeker short AF parts 1, 2, and 3, as well as the approval resolution have been completed. Based upon review of the submitted information, including reports from the planning board members on their site visit, find the proposed work is consistent with the objective stated in Chapter 101 subdivision of land. With respect to the application for special use permit, find the work and intended use to be consistent with the general standards for special use permit, and asking the board to grant the special use permit conditioned upon receipt of a minor subdivision. With respect to the minor subdivision, finding the proposed action is consistent with Town Code Chapter 101, and approve the application inclusive of the plan sheet prepared by Mark R. Graminski dated August 4th, 2025. Authorizing the planning board chair to stamp and sign the above cited site plan upon the applicant's satisfaction of the 4 conditions listed below. 5th one will actually be the payment of park and rec fees, which is required to do a subdivision, so I'll add that one on here. And Mark, I'm also going to add just receipt of the easement documentation.
Yes.
In taking this action, the planning board further authorizes the planning board secretary to provide the approval resolution to the applicant along with details on next steps required to finalize the process. Reminding everyone that all plan sketches and the materials submitted to the Town of Rhinebeck Building Department for any required permits must match the materials approved by the planning board. Any submissions that fail to do so could be rejected and or be subject to resubmission to the planning board.
Can I hear a motion?
Move that we accept. I second the motion.
Hold the board, Craig.
Aye.
Edward.
Aye.
Tom. And I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. The next public hearing this evening is that of Jennifer Rosensberg, 247 Cedar Hills Road, wetland permit, pool deck, and Good evening. How are you?
How are you
Good,
guys?
thanks. Do you want to give us a quick recap and then jump into the discussion?
So I am here trying to get a Town of Rhinebeck wetland permit for the deck and cabana for my existing new pool. It is in the buffer zone of the wetland, and I have permission from the DEC. And I've recently gotten the zoning board on my side. So now I'm just hoping for a local wetland permit.
No new comments. You've got approval from the ZBA, so.
Sorry?
You have approval from the zoning board of appeals?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. So we've got that box checked. Really nothing new, since we discussed it last time.
Planning board members?
I went with Delise and looked at the site. It's very uneven topography there, so steep hills. The house is substantially above where the pool is. But a lot of work has been invested in some landscaping with large boulders that serve as retaining walls, and it integrates into the site very successfully. The wetland is a substantial distance away. There's a lot of understory and tree growth between the edge of where the pool is presently and where the wetland is. So it seems like it would be minimally impacted by any construction equipment, and she's put a lot of thought into what to do with the wastewater from the runoff from the pool and also from the outdoor shower. There's presently an outdoor shower there. It's going to be replaced by one that's inside the cabana. It's a three-walled structure, so it's not the kind of thing that would be used as a bedroom or anything like that. And it seems like a very pleasant, sensible, well-scaled concept for this particular plant. It's very far off of the roadway. It's up a very steep wooded driveway, so it's not really visible from anywhere on the street or from neighboring properties. So I think it's a very sensible plan.
Any board members? Anybody else? Jim? Have we closed the public hearing? Is there anyone here from the public wishing to comment on this application? If not, I have a motion to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Jim?
Draft approval resolution. On the application by Jennifer Joseph Berg for wetlands permit under Town Code Chapter 120 for construction of a deck around a pool and a cabana which includes a bathroom, outdoor shower, storage, and refrigerator with a sink in the front yard, which is 47 Cedar Heights Road within the RC5 zoning district. Reaffirming the action is type 2 under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Based upon review of the submitted information, finding the proposed work is consistent with the objectives and regulations of Chapter 120. Approving the application inclusive of the materials and site plan by Liscombe McCormick Van Voorhees LLP dated April 3rd, 2025, last revised August 7th. We're also going to add a note based on the conversation last time that we understand that there is a potential for a bathroom that could be in the cabana in the future, but that it may not be constructed immediately. That's okay. And then authorizing the planning board chair to stamp and sign the both side site plan upon the applicant's satisfaction of the three conditions listed below. Taking the action, planning board authorizes the planning board secretary to provide the approval resolution to the applicant along with details on next steps required to finalize the process. And again, reminding everyone that all plan sketches and the materials submitted to the building department must match those submitted to the planning board.
Any motion?
So moved.
Second? I heard a voice. I'll call the board, John.
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Edna?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you all.
You're very much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Next public hearing this evening is that of James Metcalf, 6822 Route 9, site plan review for a change of use.
My monitoring's on, it's hers.
That's because you know all the paperwork.
All right, introduce yourselves and
Yes.
just refresh our memory on your project.
Yes. So Lisa Metcalf, Jim Metcalf, we're just looking for a change of use on the old part of Girls Inc. building. Edna and Sean came by and did the walkthrough. We are just changing it to a retail space.
Jim, anything new?
No, the only new information is that based on last time I talked about the handicap ramp, we needed plans here to show that or have taken away. Those plans have been submitted. It's shown here on this plan, and then maybe in detail as well. Showing this proposed.
So everything you were asking for has been
Yes,
satisfied.
no other comments.
All right, I'll ask for a site visit report.
And
The property is not changed from its prior use except for the ramp, the ADA ramp. Property looks very neat and inviting and ready for its new use. It was interesting that there are cubicles inside that were used previously that are the perfect places for racks of clothing. So it looks like it's all set up for its use. We haven't looked at a sign, have we? Is there going to be a sign?
Yeah, the sign is good. Tymo Signs in Kingston is preparing a sign. Yes, there will be a sign.
So we'll look at that separately.
In the same space.
In the same holder and
Same
same
holder.
size as the.
But we haven't seen the sign itself, the design for it.
No, we will, it's imminent. I spoke with him on Friday.
So we would review this without the sign approval, and then when the sign comes in, it'll go to Brian, and he'll submit it to the planning board as a control.
So you understand it still has to get an approval from the building department?
You'll need a sign permit.
Yes.
Okay, okay, just, I mean, we can talk about approving your change in use.
Thank you.
But if you're going to have the sign and you take it out of the approval resolution because we haven't seen it, you're still going to have to take another step.
Understood. Thank you.
Anything else? No? You?
The only thing I'll add is with that sign permit, if you did want to change the location of the sign, you have the liberty to do that with it. I know that one thing we talked about on that visit was how that sign was kind of hidden from
Especially in the spring.
southbound traffic. And so I'm not asking to open up a can of worms, but I am putting it in front of you.
That would have to go to DOT.
Could potentially open a can of worms, because you probably have to go to DOT.
Yeah,
Right, so that's gonna
we're
say-
definitely not moving.
Okay.
If all goes well and year 2 rolls around, I might be back.
So, back to DOT.
Yeah, go back to this.
Yeah.
And they already signed off on the entrance and the egress and everything, so you're clear with
All
DOT
right,
as far as.
so
the
we'll
things
open a
are
can of worms,
now,
so don't do that.
Well,
We are not moving it.
They can certainly, as she said,
And like I
test it out.
said, the space is, to add what Edna said, the space is, it's gonna work for what they're looking to do quite well. All the way down to like dressing rooms and everything else, so it's well thought out.
Thank you.
And the steps or the structure is already kind of like built on site, getting ready to be put in. So I know that they're probably looking forward to us potentially putting this forward.
They're poised and waiting.
Yes.
Okay, well, Jim has nothing more. Anyone else?
I just want to add that I think that this site, from driving by it, it looks like it's a very useful example of the transition from an industrial site. 'Cause I remember when this used to be Costco.
Yeah.
And then, it's kind of made its way from vacancy, and now it was an office building, and now it's going to be used for retail. And it's, the flexibility of the site, the location, all lend itself to that. And I think it's really great when people are able to take advantage of what's there and put it to a beneficial use. And
Thank you.
I wish you luck.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay, I believe the public hearing is still open. So is there anyone here from the public who wants to comment on this application? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Jim has an approval resolution.
Approval resolution for the board's consideration for the application by James Metcalf for site plan approval under Town Code Chapter 125 for use of an existing structure as a clothing retail shop, change of use from the existing office at 6822 Route 9 within the CBS zoning district. Reaffirming the action as type 2 under secret for which any environmental quality review is not required. Based upon review of the submitted information, finding the proposed work is consistent with the objectives and regulations of Chapter 125. With respect to the application for site plan approval, finding the work and intended use is consistent with Town Code Chapter 125 and approving the application inclusive of the materials and site plan by Willingham and Town Engineers dated June 1, 2023, last revised September 11th, 2025. Authorizing the planning board chair stamp and sign the above cited site plan subject to the 3 conditions listed below. Just noting, but it's not in here, that we are not approving the sign tonight, and that will be a separate application. And then noting that in taking this action, the planning board further authorizes the planning board secretary to provide the approval resolution to the applicant along with details on next steps. And again, reminding everyone that all plan sketches and other materials submitted to the building department must match those submitted to the planning board.
All right, I have a motion. Second.
Second.
I'll call the board, Craig.
Aye.
Edna?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And I vote aye. good luck.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
I'll stop by
I'm
and
gonna cry.
say
I'm excited. I'm so excited, thank you.
good luck.
Wouldn't be the first time we made an applicant cry.
But with a big smile on our face.
We're glad that you're smiling with tears of joy.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
Okay, next up is the application of Christopher Trader's 500-308 site plan and special use permit for ground-mounted solar. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, I'm Jeff Irish, I'll try not to cry.
Well, don't talk too soon.
Okay, this is Chris Travers, who's the property owner. We've been contracted by Chris to install a small residential scale ground mount solar system to offset about 30% of its electric usage of the site. I guess this is opening the public hearing tonight, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Since the application meeting a month ago, a few things that we mentioned. At the time that you wanted to see an archaeological study done, at least a phase 1B. The phase 1A, there was a phase 1A and a phase 1B that were done earlier this year for a garage project that didn't find anything of interest. So you asked me to look at doing the cost of just doing the phase 1B. I went ahead and we just did that. That was done on the 5th, on September 5th, and the report was sent to Gretchen on the 22nd and it found nothing. They did 4 sample holes along the trench path and found nothing. And then also we had a planning board site visit on October 1st. Melody there, we must have passed you on your way while we were leaving or something, because you said you got there talking about or something like that. So from Melody's side, we've done that, and the DEC determination request, I sent that in 30 minutes after June 1st brought it to my attention at the pre-conference that was on August 4th, 90 days from August 4th, it's November 2nd. November 2nd is going to be the day before your November 3rd meeting. So far, I haven't heard anything.
That's not a problem.
The project does require an area variance from the ZBA. We have had a planning, but we have had a public hearing. No one spoke in opposition. They are coming to do their own site visit on Saturdays, October 11th. But they are frozen from further action, issuing variance because they need a secret protection from this board.
Okay. I did the site visit, and some of you may have been in the property before with previous applications. And the site itself, the entrance to the property is located right on the curve going east, and you have to be extremely careful. And anybody who might catch a glimpse of this installation shouldn't be looking in that direction because of the sight lines and the speed at which you take that curve or shouldn't be taking that curve. It's pretty well wooded and screened from the road right now. You're not going to see it up. There's some rocks there in terms of the confirmation and the topography. So from the road itself in either direction, there's the possibility of some peekaboo through something from time to time, but certainly nothing that I would call visually intrusive in any direction. When you get on the property, there had been previously, there had been discussions of was there any other location on the property itself where this could go, and I really think that there isn't anything that is as acceptable visually as this location. If you're coming into the property, you're coming in from the north here on this view. You're going to be driving and looking straight ahead at the house, which is in the distance, and the garage. So to even catch a glimpse of it coming in, you're going to have to crane your neck and turn around, and it's just not going to be visible at all. And then when you're exiting, when you're standing on the driveway down there and looking up, it doesn't look as much of a hill on this picture as it does when you're there, and you have to walk up to it to really get to it. And we had some stakes up there showing where everything was, and I don't think, will you be able to see it if you're looking? Yes. Do I think it is intrusive to the point that this isn't the right location? I don't think that at all. There's very little screening or anything. There's some trees that were taken down that were in bad condition, but there's no proposal to be taking anything else out here to open it up. It really does open up into quite a natural area for the installation of these panels, so there's really not taking anything down to make this work. And then we looked at where the trenching came down and over. You can't see at the bottom, there's a fence line that it hugs to get over to the pole. And it all just kind of fits nicely where it should be without much of a disturbance at all. We did offer an idea in the field about on the back of the panels. You want to explain that?
The National Electrical Code requires that the back of the array be, the wiring be protected. It doesn't specify how from touch, from people walking on and grabbing the wires. It doesn't specify how. The normal way we do it is we put a black chicken wire mesh covering the wires on the back, right up against the back of the modules. But there's kind of a more woodsy way to do it, because you can put along the side of the array, along the back, you can put a wooden trellis. Melody asked me if I had mentioned this to the owner yet. I'm mentioning it now for the first time.
Yeah.
So, forgot to do that. Sorry, Chris.
No, you talked about something.
Yeah, so a simple, the lattice you see, the rose bushes or something like attached to it. I think if we put something like that up instead along the sides and on the back, and didn't treat it or paint it, just let it weather, it would even obscure further and blend in with the sticks and brush and trees that are behind it for the next 8 feet. So that's what I'm suggesting we do. The subject to Chris's
So from my perspective, this is a good location, good installation. If you've been on the property, if you're pulling in the driveway, to the left, there's a big lawn area. Well, that is not a really good location because of the trees that are there and the shading. And I also think it would impact the front of the historic building, way out of proportion to the benefit of it being there. There really isn't a benefit in terms of the effectiveness of the installation itself. So that's my report. I would open it up to other comments or questions.
Sounds right to me.
I agree that it's probably the ideal location on this site. But I don't think there's anything in the code that says that this has to be completely invisible. It's just, the requirement is that it be adequately screened. And it seems like you've gone above and beyond that as far as the lattice and that sort of thing. I don't even know if that's necessary. I mean, it is what it is. And if you get the opportunity where you actually do see it, you're gonna know what it is. You're not gonna be fooled by, some lattice. And if the mesh is a requirement and it's your standard way of dealing with it, I wouldn't have any problem with that. It would be up to the homeowner to do it to his own taste. It's probably about the best way that this could be done. I see this as a very important site. I think it's important for the equestrian history of Rhinebeck because Dr. George Miller was such an avid horseman, and he went to great pains to build this wonderful stable building, which is just a tour de force, just a fantastic building. And the way that the site circulated with the nearby barns has been fragmented because of divided ownership and that sort of thing. So the integrity is somewhat compromised as far as the site. So I hope at some point somebody's able to kind of pull that narrative together and, be able to tell a cohesive story. I don't see that this installation is going to interfere with that. So.
I agree about the lattice. I mean, it might help, but I just don't think it's worth the expense of doing that. And I think it might lead to, maintenance problem in the future that I just don't think is warranted. That's my opinion. Others can comment on it. In terms of,
Remind me, why is secret required for this?
Because solar panels are listed action. They're not listed under type 2 or not type 1. So you just have to.
We've done this for all freestanding solar. Doing this for Thank
Not
you.
something we do, but we're clarifying how we've been handling things. And what we have to do is.
all right, is there anyone else from the planning board? Anyone here from the public? Okay, well, we're continuing this, because obviously we're going to line up with the CBA and what else, Jim?
We need to do the seeker so that CBA can.
Well, can we have that prepared for tonight? Well, then let's do that. It's right here in the little book.
So, as I just explained to Edna, we do seeker because this is an unlisted action under seeker. It's not listed as a type 2. This is residential and where the location is, but it's certainly not a type 1 action. So we do it as unlisted, so we just have to run through the part 2 impact assessment form that we just did a few minutes ago. So we won't go through that again. So, seeker part 2 impact assessment, no or small impact may occur or moderate to large impact may occur. Question number 1, will the proposed action create material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No.
Will the proposed action result in change in the use or intensity of the use of land?
No.
Will the action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Question number 4 is about a CEA. The answer to that is no. Question 5, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect infrastructure such as mass transit, biking or walking?
No.
Will the proposed action increase the use of energy and fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy applications? Communities? Will it impact existing public, private, water, or wastewater treatment facilities? Will the action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the action result in the adverse change to natural resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in the increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? So given that the board has said no or small impact may occur on part 2, the seeker approval resolution, I should say, states that this proposed action is seeking approval for site plan and special use permit from the planning board. Christopher Travers is proposing to install 2 ground-mounted solar panels. Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, in its role as duly established lead agency under seeker, and upon review and completion of the short EAF and associated information, hereby issues a negative declaration under seeker, deeming an environmental impact statement is not required and stating such will not be prepared in consideration of the site plan and special use permit. And taking the action, the planning board approves the project to move forward, and the proposed actions are approved for implementation, subject to ZBA approval and then eventually.
Your motion?
So,
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Continue to, based on the
Continue the
CBA.
public hearing based on the ZBA, yes.
Yeah, do you have a second meeting this month? 2 weeks? Okay, so, given that the ZBA has already had their public hearing and no one spoke in opposition, they were just waiting for secret determination, which you just issued. I'm wondering if you could request that we be on the agenda for the next meeting, either meeting 2 weeks from now, because the ZBA will be meeting before
How's that track? Does that track
They're on the 15th, the CBA,
of this?
of October, and then that'll be the 20th.
And we review the 20th? I don't see a problem
It's
with
an
that.
issue.
And is the public hearing still open?
No, we closed it.
Okay, we closed
No,
it.
they didn't close it. It's the
Did
secret.
we
No,
close
we
it?
did not.
We did.
Is there a reason not to close the public hearing this evening? Nope. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second. And so what we're entertaining here is the consideration of continuing this to the October 20th meeting. How does the agenda look, Gretchen?
I mean, it's an old business.
Okay. Someone,
So moved.
motion, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, or abstention?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
The next application is the Susan Gall, 38 Russell Avenue, site plan special use permit for redevelopment solar. People?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mitch. I'm the lead project manager from Suncommon for Susan's application. We are looking to install a roof line solar array at Susan's house, which is located at 38 Russell Ave in Rhinebeck, New York. We're going to give her 24 panels with 24 microinverters. The conduit is going to run down the front side of the array. Right here, interconnect into her next to her main service panel, which will then punch in through the basement to interconnect into her. Like I said, that's her main service panel next to her utility meter, which is on the outside of the wall. And that's it.
Jim?
No new comments from last time. We are seeing this because it's within the overlay, the Rhinebeck overlay, and located on the city road. I think we talked about that last time. So it's on the corner of Russell.
Who did the site visit?
Sean and I were there, and it sits up on the hill pretty far back from what is it, Kelly Street, or I don't know if it's Mill at that point, or
Mill Road still.
Mill Road, yes. So you can see it, but it's, these are becoming increasingly common. I don't think it detracts from the integrity of the home, and they've gone to considerable effort to cluster the utilities together so that it doesn't really, interrupt your perception of the side of the house that you can see. Doesn't seem like there's any need for a tree clearing in order to make clearance for the panels. It's all pretty much open. So I don't find anything objectionable about it.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add, like people looking at that photo from the street, it seems much higher when you're up there looking down. It's a lot more steep than you think. I mean, it's gonna take some of like go out of the way. Yeah, take a look. Yeah, and they do have newer gutters on the house. I know they're planning to use the line site like next to it, so it's gonna kind of match a gutter or an existing line coming down, which again they'll kind of blend in on the side of the residence. And other than that, it's absolutely beautiful property. I've hidden back in the village run.
Okay. Jim? Secret?
Board is ready, we can do another secret, because there is listed action, solar panels. So, short environmental assessment form, part 2. And again, I run through these questions, but I just think it's important that we go through them one by one. Didn't say no to all right away, but I think we just do them all. So, no more small impact may occur or moderate to large impact may occur. Number 1, will the proposed action create material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No.
Will the action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land?
No.
Will the action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
The action will not have impact on critical environmental areas. We don't have any. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the system level of traffic?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy or fail to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the action impact existing public, private water or wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will it result in adverse changes to natural resources?
No.
Will it result in an increase to the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage?
Yeah, I'll just get it.
Okay, Marshall. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources and human health? No. Okay, so with that, answering no or small impact may occur. This proposed action is seeking approval for site plan and special use permit from the planning board. Susan Goldman is proposing to install solar panels on the roof of an existing home within the RCH zoning district and the RCO Rhinecliff overlay. The town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, in its role as duly established lead agency under seeker and upon review and completion of the short EAF and associated information, hereby issues a negative declaration under seeker deeming an environmental impact statement is not required and stating such will not be prepared in consideration of the site plan and special use permit for this project. And taking the action, the planning board approves the project to move forward, and all proposed actions are hereby approved for implementation, subject to minimum resolution.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, see the motion. We need a motion to close the public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public? May I have a motion to close the
Make
public
the
hearing?
motion to close.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Jim?
Approve a resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Susan Gollum for site plan and special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 for installation of roof-mounted solar panels at 38 Russell Avenue within the RCH and RCO zoning districts, reaffirming the actions unlisted under seeker for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required and for which the necessary paperwork has been finished. Based upon review of the submitted information, finding that the proposed work is consistent with the objectives and regulations of Chapter 125. With respect to the application for a special use permit, finding the work and intended use to be consistent with the general standards for a special use permit, and granting the requested special use permit conditioned upon site plan approval, and asking the board with respect to site plan approval to find the work and intended use to be consistent with Chapter 125, and approving the application inclusive of the site plan by Suncommon, last revised July 29, 2025. We authorize the planning board chair to stamp and sign the above cited site plan subject to the 3 items listed below. Taking this action, further authorize planning board secretary to provide the approved resolution to the applicant along with details on next steps to finalize the process. And again, remind everyone that all plans, sketches, and other materials submitted to the building department must be the same as those submitted to the planning.
Motion.
So moved.
Second? Full board, Craig?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
The next scheduled public hearing is that of Wendy Maitland, 636 River Road, site plan review for the installation of HVAC units. Don't see Wendy here. I'm looking at Jim's notes, and they indicate that she has requested to obtain an additional rendering showing a more robust planting plan. I'm presuming we have not
She
received.
doesn't have it yet.
Okay, so is she asking for?
She didn't actually ask for continuation, but she's not sure when she's gonna get it.
Okay. So, did she indicate that she was hopeful that it would be soon, or?
She's hopeful that she is.
Okay. Then may I have a motion to continue the public hearing until November 3rd?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. The next public hearing is by Gloria Van Rosny, 67 to 69 Grinnell Street, site plan, special use permits, wetlands permit, for the demolition of an existing trailer and the construction of an addition. And we note that the properties have been combined for the assessor's office. Good evening.
Good evening, my name is David Freeman. So continuing from last month, there was a site visit. I can respond to that, or do you want to talk about that first?
I just want, well, perhaps we should talk about the site visit first, unless there's other additional information that's needed
No.
before.
So just, there were 2 things that came out of that.
Okay.
I'll respond.
All right, so Craig and I did the site visit. Craig, would you like to start off?
Sure. Well, first of all, they have some angry hornets there.
Oh, boy.
It really kind of set the tone.
We needed special insurance.
For the
that
whole
day.
visit, yeah. The house is on a kind of a secluded drive, that you almost have to be going there or to the neighbor's house or to the neighbor around the corner. It's not really a thoroughfare. It's already got a couple of extensions on it, dating from the 60s or 70s. The core of the house is it's really kind of nice. It's a cute little, square floor plan bungalow style house. In fact, it put me in mind of the plan books that you would get in the 20s and 30s, and there's
I'm assuming that original one was.
Radford's, yeah. I was looking through, and there are a number of them that are very close, and if you were to just take one of those and elevate it and put a garage under it, you would pretty much have this house. So the plan is to remove the house trailer and the garage, restore that part of the landscape, put an addition on that side of the house, and there's also some reworking of the front elevation that I think we'll get to in greater detail, because we had some ideas about that. It abuts on a steep incline where there's a wetland down at the bottom, so it's at the top of a hill with some, kind of leaning trees and that sort of thing. And we can have some ideas about the windows that I think would be topic of lively discussion while we're here. But in general, it seems like good things are happening that are not really out of scale with the house that's there. And it's going to be, in general, an improvement.
Yeah, and I think, when the trailer and the garage goes away, and the house is renovated and remodeled, it's kind of going to take a nice place in that neighborhood those other things on the property certainly detract from the whole look of the property itself. So just in general, that going away is going to vastly improve this property. And in terms of that square centerpiece, it's not all that different from the house across the street. It has that same boxy look to it. And so there's sort of a continuity there that's nice to see. We also did, it's going to be tricky, construction project, I know that this gentleman here says it's going to be easy, but I don't know, I'm not a contractor, but it's tight up there, and we did suggest or pose the question of really looking at any of the trees in the area that might have problems, might not be in good shape, because if it were my house and I was going to undertake this project and there was anything that was dying or should come down, it would seem to me easier to do it at this point than to get your addition on and then have to work around that. So, that's just a suggestion in terms of efficiency of your work and cost to the owner in the future if there's any problems there. So that was just a suggestion. But we did talk about windows and other things, so I think this is segueing into what you want to say.
So, Jim, I don't know. So I had submitted two different elevations for the window patterns. When you were at the site, there was a discussion of a 4-light, which you see here, and then a 6-light, which we hope was here, or I'll just draw, or a 6-light pattern for the windows. This is the architect talking, having just corrected 2 drawings of modern houses that are going to have black windows with 4 lights. A 6-light pattern to me is very much more in keeping with the aesthetic of the house. Just, it's a small house. We're not doing black windows. I don't really want to turn it into that, what we call modern farmhouse, which is kind of that 4-light pattern. So the owner and I both agree that if the board accepts it, we'd like to stay with that 6-light pattern that's shown there.
And this is would be replacing those tall rectangular single pane windows. The only thing I would comment is when we were looking around the neighborhood, that 4-light pattern is certainly what's on the house across the street and down the street. But I hear you.
I can tell you for lights, it's purely black windows. Yeah. And then the other discussion, and I don't know if you have a sketch of that, it was a colored sketch from the landscape designer, was just the front walkway. Here we go. So what's on the drawings right now, a new deck, and then I had actually swung the walkway out a little easier. And so what the landscape designer is to making it more meandering path, adding in a few more gradual steps to get down there and extending it more to the south.
Yeah, the steps are treacherous as they are, so any improvement there, and I think we also, over time over there, we're thinking that gradual, it kind of goes up, and if you swing it like that, you make it much easier to get up to the front door, which is, it's just difficult.
Right, and there is being, so right now it's right up those stairs into the front door. There is a landing shown on drawing, front porch with a set of steps coming out of a wood landing. That's walled out.
So,
I think that was it.
I think that was it. Craig, I think you covered it adequately. I don't think there was anything else.
Yeah, well, I'll just add, there is a sheet on this as part of the landmark district, but it just describes it as this many bays, and it's this one and a half story house, I think is what it's called. And I don't feel like the fenestration pattern in particular is a character defining feature of this house. And houses like this do learn over time. They're expected to change and be modified to some extent. It's not the kind of thing that's such a showpiece that we have to protect it in its original form. It has already had some lessons in the past. I would have a preference, as you would, for a simpler fenestration pattern, but one that is a divided pane. So it's a 2/2 or so. I think the 6-pane is going to be a casement window. 6-pane casements. I don't have a problem with that. It is definitely a departure from that core design that was there. But I think it's an acceptable alteration.
Jim, anything?
No, nothing new. Nope, I think we have all the information requested.
Planning board members? Public? Okay. And thoughts on the windows? Because I think we're moving toward an approval resolution, so I'd like other planning board members, if you have comments, to weigh in on.
I personally like the 6-pane, or the 6, whatever you call it. I don't think it matters.
I go with the architect. I kind of like the 6. I mean, in my neighborhood, everybody's going to the modern farmhouse, white house, black house, and it's kind of evident.
Anna, any comments? No one from the public. Then could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Motion second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Jim? What, no secret?
Not on this one. All right, approval resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Gloria Gamrosny for site plan, special use permit, and wetlands permit under Town Code Chapter 125 for construction of an addition to an existing house, demolition of an existing trailer and garage at 67 to 69 Grinnell Street within the RCH and RCO. Reaffirming the action is type 2 under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Based upon review of the submitted information, finding the proposed work with 6 light windows is consistent with the objectives and regulations of Chapter 125. With respect to the application for wetlands permit, finding the work and intended use to be consistent with the general standards for wetland permits, and granting the requested wetland permit conditioned upon site plan approval. With respect to the application for special use permit, finding the work and intended use to be consistent with the general standards for special use permits, and granting special use permit conditioned upon site plan approval. And with respect to site plan approval, asking the board to find the proposed work and intended use to be consistent with Town Code Chapter 125, approving the application inclusive of the site plan, floor plan, and elevations by D. Freeman Architect dated July 7th, 2025. With the most recent updated plans on this as well, to date. And authorize the planning board chair to stamp and sign the both cited site plan upon satisfaction of the 3 conditions listed there. Authorizing the planning board secretary to provide the approval resolution to the applicant along with details on next steps to finalize the process. And reminding everyone that the materials submitted to the planning board must be the same as that submitted to the building department.
Have a motion, please.
Move to accept.
Second?
Second.
Call the board, right?
Aye.
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 So we do have one part of the discussion, which is we would like to proceed with demo in the next month, moving the trailer and the garage.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
Is that a problem with the board? It's on us, obviously. If you come back and you vote the resolution away, we've taken away some value, but is that a problem?
You got the approval
You got the
as of right
approval.
now, so we get the plans to Melanie to sign and
Okay,
get your permits going.
very good. All right,
Wait,
thank
should we do
you.
the demo before we submit the blueprints is the question?
How
Can we do a demo now to push the
long is it
letter?
going to take you to turn around? I mean, I sign, right?
Yeah.
You can have my signature almost immediately.
Okay.
But then you've got to have your plans to go, that's where the holdup is.
That's correct. Just because of Mother Nature and weather closing, that's why we're asking for it.
So that's a building department question.
Let us, why don't we have a conversation with the building department about it? I don't personally see a problem with that. And I can sign them as soon as you get them in here, but I don't want to make a decision for Edmatic in any way, shape, or form, so.
You could.
Huh?
You could.
I would not be smart
No.
for me to do that. And I certainly don't want to insert myself in the decisions of Brian or Ed. So we'll circle back to them quickly. Gretchen can get Kimberly on it. And if they don't have an issue, does anybody else here have an issue with that? No, I understand the situation, but I don't feel empowered to make that decision.
That's understood.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, good luck. Let me ask a question here, because I know we have 2 things left on the agenda. One is Rhinebeck Villas, which I imagine there's some conversation around. We have under old business Gatsburg Holdings. That might be a somewhat shorter conversation, so I'm wondering if anybody would object to, are we required to go in this particular order with old business? So does that make sense to the 2 of you? The both of applicants, so Tom, if you'd like to jump out there.
Go ahead.
Just looking to get you
Yes.
out of here.
So again, Tom Angel, representing the applicant, along with our project engineer, Joel Chase. We're hoping we reached the end of the line here. We've gotten all the approvals that we can get up to this point. The only thing left is DOT, and we've responded to all their comments. And they're telling us that we can't get any sort of permitting until you give us site plan approval. And so we're requesting to go forward tonight to get that approval, conditioned upon us getting the proper permit from DOT. So appreciate your working with us over these several months, and we would like to get this project going.
Yeah, as far as we're concerned, I think it's just DOT. I did call DOT last week to see if they were okay, because it's kind of this chicken and egg. They said that they would like us to just wait until they have their final work with you guys on the DOT plans before we do the approval resolution. Obviously, you need this before they'll write the permit. They said there were a couple, I saw the letter, they said there were a couple outstanding issues that they wanted to finalize. You guys were mainly regarding water. So I think they said that it wouldn't, I don't think it would be very long, so if you want to move it up 2 weeks, we could.
I'd like to move it 2 weeks rather than a month. Are you in conversation with them, sir?
He's responded to their last comment letter. When did you get the comment response in?
In the last week.
Yeah, my impression is it should be like this week maybe, or next week that you'll hear back from them, but they wanted to take a final stab at it because it was water related, I guess. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, mainly to make sure nothing changes in terms of the site plan layout. If we approve something and then you guys move anything, that creates a problem. So, once you work that out, which hopefully you can do ASAP and put on for 2 weeks. No, but I don't think there's anything on it.
Did you close the public hearing on this?
It's already done.
Okay.
So when will your next meeting be?
The 20th of October.
20th?
Yep. So, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, and you reach out to them.
And that's the 6th again.
05.
6:05.
6:05.
Well, it's under old business.
That, well, there's a lot of old business on that agenda. There's no new application.
There's no new
So
application.
do you want me to flip-flop this public hearing on old business?
Yeah,
Put it first.
let's get it as early as we can. You're saying there's going to be a lot of old business.
Well, there's a couple of them that might be longer. I mean, it's how you want to do it.
I'd like to place it in upper part of the meeting under new applications.
Okay.
So we don't keep you here any longer than necessary.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you in a couple weeks.
Can I raise a procedural question? When we have issues like this that are kind of caught in a decision loop, where, well, DOT won't get back to them because we don't have site plan approval. Well, we can't approve site plan unless DOT has their approval, and it kind of creates this vortex. Is there anything in way of like an affirmation or some kind of resolution that we can state where we've reviewed the site plan and we don't anticipate any significant objections within reason for the plan as submitted? So if they have to move or change the size of their culverts or something like that, it's not really going to impact our overall decision, but our final decision is pending their approval of the driveway or whatever it is that they filed for.
The only way we can do it would be to do it a conditional approval, unfortunately, which we haven't traditionally done.
Right.
I am talking with DOT and I'm trying to keep, on track on top of them. Essentially, I called them on Friday, but they're before the meeting, hoping to find out what's going on right before the meeting. And that's what I told me. There's still a couple outstanding. I don't think there's significant issues. They said they should have something this week, but the timing just didn't line up with this meeting. So I'm trying to do that, on my end, to keep in touch with them. But in terms of what you're asking, the only way we can do it would be to do conditional approvals, which we have not traditionally done.
But I will say, moving it 2 weeks is probably going to line up almost with when DOT's going to get back to it. But the problem is back to what I said, it's water related, which most likely there's going to be some kind of change on the site plan, potentially.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Then it creates the reissuing problem
Right.
and everything else.
But with this filing and with this site, I mean, what kind of change would really
Can't wait for
light up the landscape for us? I mean, it's not,
Well, we can ask Jim to follow up, after this meeting and tell DOT what we've done and just, we can squeeze them a little bit. too.
I've started talking to DOT rep more and more lately, so
Yeah.
I'm getting more relationship with them.
okay, but like I said, it's a procedural thing, and,
Yeah.
I'll accept that it's, we don't do conditional approvals, so that's just.
And we're going to have to keep talking more about that because we're getting more information back from Dutchess County Department of Health. There's had some changes down there, and, we're trying to get out of the shit and the so we'll keep working on it. All right.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Good night.
And thank you for indulging that.
Oh, of course. Is it okay to approach?
Yes, please.
You may approach.
Good evening, Sean Kemp on behalf of Rhinebeck Villas. And I have with me here tonight Andrew Paulus, member of Rhinebeck Villas LLC, along with the project architect, Rob Pont. Just to kind of status update, I'll run the board through real quick. We conducted a second site visit. I believe it was Melody, Craig, Edna, and Delise attended. We appreciate the board coming out and showing interest in the project, and Craig coming out again. I think that was a very productive meeting. We noted at the site visit that we sent a team out to do the tree survey. That's being conducted. We're still waiting for the final product to supply to the board, but I was hopeful that we would have it actually before today's meeting. I think that it'll probably come up in next week or so, but we'll be sure to forward that to you right away. Also, in line with what we had said at the last meeting, Creighton Manning, our project engineers, were able to get back comments to the technical comment letter from CPL, and CPL was able to give us responses this morning. Gretchen, thank you very much for forwarding that to us. Based on my review, again, I'm only an attorney, I don't really know too much about the technical side of things, but it seemed like a lot of the comments were relatively minor, and I think our team's going to be able to respond to that before the next meeting. And then I think those were like the kind of three big things. We're still working on getting a date for a meeting with the neighbors. It's been a little bit kind of hard for us trying to organize our schedules, but we also want to be in a position where we actually have like some more definitive information. We don't want to be too speculative of what might go here or there. And you know, from our point of view, I think that you know, when I look at SECRA, we're essentially done with that aspect of things, except for you know, whatever the board might have as far as comments or any other outstanding issues that they'd like to have addressed. And then we would like to try and move that aspect of things forward because just as the board was discussing about the chicken or the egg almost type thing, our speedies permit is kind of conditioned or contingent upon getting either a negative declaration or some type of draft impact statement before we can go anywhere with that. That will affect what type of wastewater treatment system we put in. As far as the size goes, Ed and I know in the past you were like, well, I'd like to see exactly what's going to be there. It's hard for us to say exactly what's going to be there without having that permit and giving us the ability to understand what's going to be processed. Not as far as waste goes, but volume, so that it could potentially change some things. So that aside, I guess I'm open to the comments from the board based on the site visit.
Okay. All right. Those of you who went. I was up at this hospital. My first impression was that it didn't feel as big on the ground as it looks on paper. But when you're actually on site and walking through where the buildings are going to be, I mean, it was, you had it well staked out, it was easy, the path was just lovely, and you know, you could really walk through the whole circulation there and get a sense of where the buildings are, and it really, you know, this makes it look very busy and a lot going on, and it didn't feel as much that way there. I do think, as hard as we're trying, and as really is, there's still going to be some visibility, I think, from the road. And I'd encourage you to keep thinking about some screening and buffering from 9G, just because, you know, a lot of it is deciduous and the leaves are going to be off. And I'm not saying it's going to stare you in the face, but I think there's some modest improvements or additions that could tone that down a little bit. I don't know what else to, I mean, I think generally the layout is good. Where you're citing things seems reasonable. We were talking a lot about that triangle that is this sort of lawn area, and we were, you know, discussing ways of maybe right now there's no intention to really have a lot of plantings in there, but that maybe some trees, maybe some other things in there would soften, because that's the one area when you get in there that's frankly open, and you know, people will be walking, you know, from the other buildings to the area for breakfast, and so we just chatted about that a little bit in terms of minor improvement opportunities.
Just like maybe trees around it, but like the open field concept I think would be really nice, especially for people visiting this area. They're looking for grass and trees too.
Yeah, well, we were talking about maybe even, you know, some tables there or something that people could go out and enjoy, you know, that outdoor space as well, because that's really the area where you can enjoy, you know, if you were there with a couple of other couples or something, you know, could you sit outside, because it really isn't built into the and elsewhere. But those are sort of my major comments.
Just before we go on to any other board members, when this came up, another update I forgot to mention, Rob was able to meet with Four Brothers,
Yes,
and the sidewalk is a go.
great,
So that was a big, box to check off.
great.
And you mentioned it's 35 feet from the road.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
So I actually met with Galopi Ginos. She's the manager at the restaurant. The owner, Chris, has been in Greece for a while. He's coming back actually this Friday. But I brought the model and I showed her, and she was very excited by it. She, talked to Chris on the phone, and she said he's also in favor of it, but he's just not here. So he'll be back soon. We're going to meet with him, and obviously we have to come up with some kind of legal agreement in order to extend that sidewalk onto his property. But it was a very positive meeting.
But Rob, I think what Edna was referencing is, remember we took out the...
Oh, yeah. No, I showed her exactly where it was, and where it would come into their property too, so it would be safe.
Right.
Well, we could, I'm assuming we can prove that as part of a resolution, and if for some reason in the future they don't give you the easement, that doesn't necessarily affect our approval resolution, does it?
No, I mean, they have to, I mean, even if you guys say you're absolutely going to do it, and they decide to change their mind after we get approval, you can't work on someone else's property without their approval. So I think we would have it in there as a note that, this connection we made is an important connection, but we can't force the issue.
No, we can't force the issue, but I'm
We'll make it as a note in the approval resolution somehow and state that we understand that is part of it, and then probably make it secret.
Okay. Right?
Well,
And Delise was there as well. So.
yeah, I went back to the site and walked around it with Delise, who's very interested in the rock formations and the archaeology. And I had an overlay from the archaeologist's report, which was it's actually on an old site plan, but some of the things still remain. Still wasn't able to locate the previous find from before the archaeologists did their investigation. They found a record of what had been described as a flint quarry, and it had yielded a multitude of tools, is the only statement that we have. So seeing what that looked like and why they would have made that statement is still a little bit of a mystery, but it doesn't seem to be of the order that it would make it something that's worthy of listing in the national register. Not the kind of thing that we're going to extract a great deal of knowledge from. I think the one find that was located on the property was judged to be of no diagnostic value. But there is another site that is a New York State Museum listed site that's actually on the Four Brothers property. So it's 100 feet from the APE, the area of potential effect. So, knowing a little bit more about that, I think would have added a lot more to the archaeologist's product. And I really wish they would elaborate where they can, because those could be some pretty critical things that we need to consider when you're talking about, possibly rerouting the service drive to the sewage treatment plant, which is going to pass, I don't know, maybe very close to that New York State Museum identified site. On the second look, one of the things that appeared to me was I think those buildings, building 2 and 3, are going to be a little bit more visible from 9G than I had initially supposed. So I don't think that we should harbor any illusions that it's going to be completely invisible. It is going to be visible, but as I said in an earlier application, the requirement is to screen it and to break it up visually, and I think that's being adequately done. Rob had mentioned that the area where you see the box where it says pervious grass, paver, emergency access, where that box is, that whole area is a very gravelly and hard compacted subsoil, so it would be very hard to get anything to grow there as far as tree coverage. But that would be the ideal place to put something for screening. So.
But we did confirm, or we confirmed the buildings will all be in earth tones and
Yeah.
and natural.
That's
And
right.
that will lend itself to softening from, I mean, you will see a building, but you're not going to see a stark white building or something with bright colors that's going to be even more visible from the roads. So that will lend itself to toning it down on the property.
Right.
Have there been any test holes done on this heart attack area that seems to be rocky? I mean, do you have any idea of the depth of what is there precisely?
And I'm glad you asked that question because the man who dug the holes is sitting right here. We tested that area to see if it would be viable for septic. When did we do that? Last year? I think? Went in with a mini excavator. And, you know, the closer we were to 9G, he was just digging and scooping. Well, Tom, if you want to describe it, you were there, dude.
Well, that was one of the determinations that we decided to go with a package plant opposed to a conventional septic system because of the amount of rock there.
But on the other hand,
The closer you get to the wood line, though,
it
improves.
does have drainage, right? It's not stopping water from filtering down.
No, it's like crushed stone.
All right.
Dig into it.
So, I mean,
around
it's
it.
possible.
Breaks up, it's not.
But what I want to suggest is it is possible to dig a few very large holes and plant some trees
Yes.
there that would do very well.
Yes, no question about it.
So it's possible to add some screening
Yeah,
to that
there'd be no
area,
problem at all with that.
and that would be very
Because
helpful.
it's like a shaly formation that will break up. The problem with problem we had with the area for the sewage disposal system was much too large, especially with a conventional system. You see, it's just too large, we've been moving too much dirt, too much rock.
Right.
But for, what you're talking about in a landscape situation with, you know, planters maybe 15 by 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
That'll be no problem at all.
And that would help a lot with screening.
Well,
And they would take that
yeah.
based on the soil
Yeah,
conditions?
and there's more dirt there than you realize, so something will grow. And, you know, the soil that's there, because nothing's happened on the site, you know, it's very, very rich. Very, very rich soil. Yeah, I saw you the other day, because you were walking around those trails we made the other day. I saw you walking in, and it's a good rich soil there. It really is. And, you know, like if you have no problem at all with
Which
that.
is not suitable for a septic, it doesn't perk,
Correct.
because it's gonna be just too coarse and rough for that,
Yeah,
but
too
you
rough.
could like a nice evergreen,
Yep.
which would be ideal for screening for sound and also for masking the buildings and kind of masking the highway from the motel
But as
residents.
far as you're concerned about, would be able to do some plantings and plant, no problem at all.
That works, good. The property overall is more interesting than it appears from the road. Once you're in there,
Once you
the
go in, yeah.
topography, you know, changes. There are some good-looking trees, and I particularly like those occasional huge boulders that are sitting around, and I hope that they will be visible from your driveway or, you know, from various places.
I think the topography adds a lot to the project. I think it really does. Because instead of coming in and just looking at, you know, these row of buildings, you have different elevations, and I really think it's gonna add a lot to it. I think what we're doing there is really gonna, and as you know, especially because you walked it, the way that walkway goes around there, I mean, it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful site.
Yeah, and I did find that to be remarkable on both visits, where you get off the highway and there's just kind of this peaceful atmosphere.
Yeah, it really
and
is.
as much as you can exploit that.
Well, my company made those trails up through there. I was up there with my fellows, and I was telling them, once we got it out, I said, it's really peaceful back here. You're right on 9D, it's very peaceful.
Well, this used to be one big farm, with the farm across 9G,
Correct.
because 9G didn't exist until the 1930s. And the old aerial photographs do show what looks like a Christmas tree plantation, which they had a number of those.
Well, I don't know if that's the case, you know, cedar trees go towards rock. So it might have just been wild cedar trees, and actually, if you look around there, you see a lot of wild cedars that have gone through the years.
Okay.
That was in the district, farm across the street, actually, the history of that piece was bought after the fact.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
the Pitcher Brothers bought it.
Was that the Trombini farm?
No, that was Pitcher.
Pitcher, okay.
Pitcher, yeah.
Because one of the names that came up in one of the neighboring properties was Trombini, and that's the name that I associate with.
One of the sons, he lives over on the road behind it.
Okay, and that's part of the violet trade that Trombini brought violets
Correct.
to. So again, another.
We had to get permission to walk on the property the other day.
Okay, all
All
right.
right, well, let's, other comments from the site visit?
Are we going to see a landscape plan now for that area?
For the triangle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the triangle and what
I'm
she's
talking
talking
about
about.
along the road,
Oh,
and as well as the triangle.
The engineers have already produced landscaping plans, but you know, we'll take a look and see what they include as far as screening in front. I believe it just says natural buffer is to remain. So we can talk to them about augmenting that with additional screening.
No, because I also think it's, not only is it going to visually screen from 9G, but I would think it would also deaden somewhat even more the noise of the traffic from 9G into the interior for your guests.
I think another thing that's noteworthy is that in this area, you do have some examples of earlier typical commercial development with just the clearing and the parking lot and the building at the back. And it's refreshing to see the efforts to get away from that and have, you know, kind of lessen that impact from the roadway and still create a useful commercial space.
Well, actually, with this, when you look at this project in its entirety, it really could become a model for other type of future commercial development in our region.
Right.
It really could. And it's interesting, a site like that, because of the topography, it really lends itself well to it.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I just want to add one more item. When I travel with my family, obviously, I have kids and stuff, so I stay in a condo corner or like hotel units, but I always love like an area to cook. And I know that they're limited with the current check-in area, kitchen. I know you guys spend a lot of money to date where you are, but it'd be something to consider with that triangle space of just an area of gathering. Whether it be, you know, not large, but some kind of outdoor covered space, grills, something like that, which I think it really more like the people that are spending time there, like they want downtime at the end of the day typically. Like I think about me on vacation, you know, even when I was like recently in Sedona, it's like I spent the day traveling, hiking, doing everything, and I got back and I was like, yeah, I just want to like grab some food, cook on the grill and spend time in my condo. And you have that limited with your kitchen and the rules around it and everything. So it's just something to consider. If you could make it like park-like, I think it'd be epic.
no, I think that's a really good idea, and it kind of goes along with the sentiment that's just been expressed. Because when you look at the hotel itself, it's not like we have tons of amenities, and I mentioned this at the site visit, swimming pool or tennis courts or all types of things that go on. So a real selling point of this project is the location and kind of the environment that we can create for them to be in. And I think that that type of idea, you know, is very low impact, but adds a lot of value to the guest.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if like, I mean, I'd go crazy if do like fire pits, like, but we'll just keep it simple for now. But, yeah. But no, but I just think it'd be like a nice area to gather. You know? When I look at that, and I know when I'm a guest at a space out of town, like you spend your day running around all day. At the end of the day, you want that downtime, a place to have a glass of wine with your significant other, or whatever it is. It might be a nice little retreat.
That's kind of what we were saying, a little bit about that triangle area, that it's there and it's a green space and, you know, if there's some, anyway.
Yeah, and just anything like that, a picnic table, a bench, that just signals to people that it's okay for you to be here.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to use this space, and that, because people come to those spaces with an expectation that, oh, maybe I'm supposed to stay off the grass. And it's like, no, this is for you, this is part of the experience, it's part of what we offer. I think that would be a good way to announce that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the other thing that was mentioned, and I don't know that it's come up in what we talked about it, or I brought it up, I personally think you know, there's a lot of pros and cons about development in the town and when it's good, but, you know, we also, I think, have to recognize that, you know, this is an opportunity in Rhinebeck for some level of employment, local employment for people who are going to work here, people who are going to get jobs. And, you know, there's not a lot of that type of thing in Rhinebeck for housekeepers and maintenance folks and whatever. And I know some of this will be contracted out, maybe maintenance and lawn mowing, whatever, but there will be employees here.
Absolutely.
Contributing to the economy. So I think that's something we also, you know, we don't make our decisions based on that, but it is an aspect of this type of thing coming in that I think is important in the community. All right, so there's nothing else from the planning board. I'll ask if the members of the public that are still here have any comments they wish to make at this time.
Why is everybody looking at me?
Oh, because I think you're the only one, you're the only one unaffiliated in some way or another.
I just maybe I have a procedural question.
Sure. Yep, and you've got to do it all over again. Tell us who you are.
Christopher Capo, 22 Kendon. So my procedural question is this. Last time I raised 8 points related to the sewage treatment plant, which in my opinion seem to be either in conflict or at least in irritant to some of the code, all right? At what point do those concerns get addressed? Because I don't know enough about how all this works. I don't want you guys to like close a part of this process before that happens. So that's my question.
Yep, so on a project like this, I would not review that type of thing because it's beyond my capacity as a planner. So we pull in the town planning board engineer, which is CPL, and he did provide, the engineer did provide a letter, you know, to us, which you guys have a copy of.
Which we just received, that is public information that is available to you.
Right, and he did have a couple questions about, you know, water demand and some other things, and so they'll, you know, they'll have to, you know, they'll have to answer those. But that's what we typically would do in a situation like this, is we'll pull in the engineer who knows this material.
Okay, but you guys...
Since he's, let me just ask a question. So he is reviewing, your engineer is reviewing the most recent correspondence from Christian.
That's correct.
Have we provided to Christian Mr. Capo's information, the questions he raised?
I'm not sure that
I'm not sure.
typically.
Well, what I'm going to suggest is that we make sure that Christian has a copy of what Mr. Capo is speaking about, so that as you're finishing up with him, he can look at those as well.
Yeah. Also, in our most recent submission to the planning board, we do have updated narrative and updated letter addressing some of the concerns specifically that you raised in the prior meetings. I don't know if that's been posted yet. If you'd like, I can send it to you directly.
Gretchen is saying that the newest information, so the way this works procedurally is you submit to us, we discuss it at a meeting like this, and then that authorizes Gretchen to post it publicly. So she's saying after this meeting that will all be...
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I think the process is I submitted my 8 points, and you guys somehow contemplate those, and I hear a readout from that at some point?
I think what Jim is saying is not necessarily point by point. We make sure that all of the public comment, yours and anybody else's, is provided to any of the consultants that are working with us. We see them, but then because many of us are not, I'm not technically experienced like CPL, so we would pass those technical engineering questions onto our planning consultant who would address them. So what I'm saying is we want to ensure that they did go to CPL and they're part of their review package.
Okay. All right.
Is that right?
But CPL, for example, would not be concerned with the appearance of the wastewater plant. That is something that this board would be dealing with.
Right, so I think the points that I raised are probably a mix of some, engineering-related concerns and, code.
Well, there are a couple of things, if you don't mind. You had mentioned the physical location of the plant.
Correct.
And could it not be moved closer and more downstream of the source for the intermittent stream?
Yes.
And really there's not a lot of leeway there. And there may be other issues like topography, as I had mentioned before, the presence of archaeological sites in very close proximity to the area of potential effect. And if you go outside of that, then that kind of invalidates the investigation that was done. So is there enough juice that makes it worth the squeeze for that? Because, to move it maybe 50 feet downstream. And also, you had mentioned the unknown source of the intermittent stream, which is a culvert that runs under the Four Brothers property, and it comes from the other side of 9G.
Right.
And that I don't know how much more exact that has to be as far as the sourcing.
I appreciate that. I guess, let me just ask a very direct question, and then maybe, Mr. Dupont can address this, but it's here right now, right?
Right.
This building, right, this is building 3, but it's split into 2 buildings effectively, right?
Yeah, it's one building.
Yeah.
But yes,
It's going around the curve.
It is connected by the circulation.
So why couldn't you guys do the same thing with building 4 around this area? You'd have symmetry in that regard, this. And why couldn't you move that over here?
Well, this is the extent of the wetlands buffer, right?
Right.
We're already using this area for stormwater treatment.
Mhm.
That's all the area, the water that's being gathered here. There's simply no room to put that over here, especially when our discharge point is, most logically, this is where our discharge point needs to be. Plus, we have our water source over here already coming in this direction to feed these buildings. So it's logical that we put it in here, which is outside both the wetlands area and the buffer area. That's why it was placed there.
Okay, I guess my question is, could you reconfigure this building to make room for that over here? And
No,
then
there's not
your
room.
output would be closer to the egress of this.
No, and right here is the smallest, this is the wetlands, right here. This is one teeny little connection right here, where we're doing a crossing, so we're affecting the wetlands to the least extent possible, and that is the least extent possible for our discharge point as well. So that's why it was placed there. I mean, I can only address it to a certain extent. The engineers would be,
Okay, is that the
able to address it better.
CPL, is that?
No, that's Creighton Manning is our engineer. CPL is the town's engineer. That's
Okay.
right.
I mean, could they take a read on that question?
Well, they designed it.
They designed it.
Yeah,
with
the
that.
town? The town?
No. The town is reviewing all of this.
Okay.
So they're certainly looking into all the design aspects of it.
Right.
But that's why it was deliberately put here.
And sorry to interrupt the flow, but, it kind of moves it out of your purview and puts it in someone else's, so.
Well, there's
and
nobody,
there's also,
there's nobody over.
There's a house right up there in the upper.
Well, they're already dealing with the,
In any case, there's a considerable drop off there on the other side of building 4. And that dark dashed line is the 100-foot buffer.
Sure.
So he would have to be placing that within the 100-foot buffer. And to what effect? I mean, how does that improve?
Mr. Castle, this is your
There's
house,
also going to
right?
be,
that's me, yeah.
there's also going to be a lot of disturbance around it in its construction and placement and the footings that have to be put in. So it's not just the building itself, there's going to have to be some clearing around it. And is there a benefit that I don't know about?
Well, it keeps it out of line of sight of 9G coming in, and I know you guys are going to do screening, but the screening would have to be year-round, right? To protect the view from 9G.
Once we get, this procedure through where we can finalize the design of that unit itself. Then we'll be able to provide renderings to show what it's going to look like. We have every intention of, we can't fully bury it, I believe, but we can certainly bury the majority of it, as well as screen it. And it is going to be fenced in to protect it as well. And I mean, I've spent a lot of time in these woods. I can't understand how you could possibly see this from 9G or potentially from your house.
I think there's no way that it's going to be more visible than the 3 semi-trailers that have been perpetually parked in that.
Yeah, what is with those?
Oh, by Umbro?
I will say.
And there are billboards there. It's a commercial site, and I don't think there's any obligation to make it invisible. But you are required to provide adequate screening, and I think there's a plan in place for doing that.
I think what's important that's being said is the plan is not final yet.
Right.
So back to your procedure question, we don't have a final plan of what that's going to look like, how it's going to be screened. We don't have any of that information yet because they can't actually, until they know the plan that has to be in place,
Right.
they don't know what it's going to look like and what it's going to take to screen it. And so the information's not in front of anyone yet. And so I think that's just important. Like right now, we're just talking in circles over nothing.
It becomes kind of speculative.
Well,
Right.
we will, as I said
Under Mark's
earlier, we
process.
will go back and ensure that CPL has in hand your 8 points that you raised. The only thing I would add, maybe in closing here for tonight, is that when we walked along, what the applicant did very carefully was to lay out for us the path of the driveway going into the circle, and you could stand there and look around and see. When I go in that driveway and I stand there, there's no way I can see through all of the brush and the trees there. If I'm looking toward where this plant's going to be, I can't, if this is built as I believe it's proposed to be, I just don't see the visibility that would be a problem. But
Okay, Melanie, he'll also get a chance to see final plans.
yes, and I'm presuming when you
Once
talked
we have
about, meeting with the neighbors, which you said has been difficult to get organized, is it your intention to take them onto the property as well?
We had discussed that. I mean, we can obviously entertain that further. The idea is to have like an informational session with the neighbors and say, look, this is what we're planning to do, and, you know.
Well, that would be a time to continue these discussions.
Sure, of course.
People will be most impacted, because that's the point of having them hear this from you directly and ask these questions. So,
Madam Chairwoman, let me just address that one point about the brush and everything, because I did bring this up before, but, like I'm there, right? In the winter, I can see 4 brothers. Okay. And you guys driving down 9G can see my house in the winter. In the other 3 seasons of the year, it's great. It's totally invisible.
well, I think I hear you, and I'm not disputing it, but it also goes back to the point that I think Craig has raised, which is there's no obligation to make this invisible.
Right.
And so that's why we're asking, as we did this evening, for consideration of some additional trees, some additional screening. We're trying to confirm that the use of materials in the buildings themselves are as earth toned and compatible with the trees and the surrounding as we can possibly make it. So I think we're hearing the concerns about visibility, and I think the applicant to date has been open to looking at the suggestions that are being made.
Absolutely, definitely. We don't come back from these meetings and say, oh, we cannot do that, we're not planning anything. We understand that a project like this is going to have some type of impact. We want to mitigate that impact to the extent possible and to the extent that it's reasonable, much to Craig's point, because not only is it good for the neighbors, but it's also good for our business too. Because if you're staying there, you're not going to want to look over at that either, right? You're not, and at this point with the plantings over here, it's a great idea because people aren't going to really want to look out on the 9G, or if it's something that's going to help reduce noise for our guests, it starts to make a lot of sense. So, we hear your concerns. We definitely want to do what we can to address them. That's certainly not being dismissive at all. And we take them into consideration. And I think when you see our letter, our response, most recent response letter, it might give you a little bit,
That's fine.
a little bit of relief, maybe. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to cure everything, but and you'll see that we're trying to work in the right direction.
Believe it or not, I want you guys to build your hotel. I'm not against the hotel at all. I just want to make sure that this thing absolutely has to be there, and there's no other choice, right? To me, I'm not an engineer or an architect, right? It seems to me that there could have been another configuration that moved it over here. Right? Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. It would be great if somebody smarter than me took a look at it, aside from the project's engineer, and made that determination as well. Just so you guys
We will follow up
have the right answer.
with your comments.
Okay, thank you. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I have a couple of comments. I'm just going to send them on. I know Christian had said that he would like to speak directly to the applicant as well, so if it's okay with the board, we'll just do that kind of behind the scenes. Him and I will give them a quick call, just talk about a couple of the items we have on here.
That sounds great.
Just to make sure.
And certainly, we encourage your engineers to talk directly to CPL. Cuts out a lot of back and forth unnecessarily.
Yeah,
Christian's
and I
got
think that
questions, he can ask them. And I would encourage your engineer to have a conversation with Christian and Mr. Capo.
so we do appreciate CPL getting their comments back to us today. That was helping to move things along.
I believe our engineer is going to be talking to somebody at CPL on Thursday.
Yeah.
So,
That would
directly.
be Christian.
Yeah.
I hope it's Christian, it shouldn't be anybody
I
else.
believe it is Christian,
They're
yeah.
talking to somebody else, direct them back to Christian.
Okay.
It's not
So-
anybody else.
So Jim, you were saying that there's a couple of issues that you want to address?
Just a couple of comments.
Yeah.
We'll work, yeah.
Okay.
We'll take that tonight.
And I think, just to confirm signage, we agree that signage is going to be a separate package.
Separate package for
Much
signage?
like we did with Ruby's, so that gets addressed
Yeah.
on its own. It doesn't, layer this down too much with the signage.
That's one of the items I just wanted to
Okay, good.
we're in agreement on how to submit it, but there are a couple items I just wanted.
Sure.
Anybody else? So we have a motion to continue? What?
So moved.
Oh, second. And what would be the date?
What are we moving on?
November 3rd.
Yeah.
This is to continue?
Yes,
Yes, I
To the
move to
November
continue
3rd
to
meeting?
November
Three.
3rd.
November 3rd. Thanks.
And hopefully by that point, you'll have looked over what Christian's got, we'll wrap up some things and.
Hopefully be able to maybe finish the secret part of it.
I would hope so.
Okay.
So what is still outstanding on the secret?
Yeah. We're gonna have to make a secret determination. This is an unlisted coordinated effort, so I think we're gonna have to go through the part two on that one.
Is there anything that we still have to provide in order for the board to do that?
Well, we want to make sure that all Christians, the letter from Christian was, this has been satisfied, he would say satisfied, and then others, he would say more information is needed. So we want that to be a clean letter from him, that all his concerns have been.
Okay.
We could start parts of it.
Yeah.
There's some elements we could potentially start.
We can talk internally about, we have in the past when we had to do the full one, broken it up over a couple of meetings. So let us schedule this for November 3rd, and we'll talk internally with Jim.
Okay.
And John and Kim will be working with us on that resolution to see the best path.
Okay, and then our team will get everything together as much as possible to satisfy the CPL, and then it seems like we'll be able to go into that next phase.
I think it's really important that you have the neighbor meeting before we get to the discussions that we have to go through as part of secret. It would be good to have that feedback.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue to November 3rd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes the business this evening, other than the two ZBA referrals. Case 1085, Christopher Travers and is 1089 34 Mill Road.
So, Christopher Travers, we just obviously discussed it earlier. They're down on solar panels. We have reviewed this, we discussed it again tonight, and we're spoken up until we have a public hearing. So, the question for the board is, do you have any planning or environmental issues or concerns with the project? And if not, then we could go with the standard, which now we go with the standard.
Yes, please.
So, for the trade resolution, we'll be standard response, probably a motion.
So I'll make motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries.
34 Mill Road, this is the application that we saw last time where the applicant is looking to modify an existing historic home, change the alignment of the driveway, put a deck on, an addition, pool, in the backyard. There's a CB application in for 86 feet 8 inches, 86 foot 8 inch variance where 100 foot side yard is required for the carport, and side yard variances of 63 feet 10 inches and 52 feet 6 inches for some of the proposed additions, decks, and pools. I can bring it up on the screen if everyone.
Isn't that typical of the lot size in that area?
It is a very small lot. So the referral from the ZBA is not for the use itself, it's more about if you have any concerns about the variances and
I don't see any issues.
where this would be inside here.
Well, I want to encourage the Board of Appeals to consider the information that we have about the historic nature of that property. I think it deserves a little more, they need to pay a little more attention, for example, in my opinion, to the impact that all of the change in the driveways might have on the scenic character of the road. I know it doesn't normally fall under their purview, but it's a scenic road, and I think there are things that they should make themselves aware of. But I think, I believe there will be some concerns raised, and I think we should just at least give them a notice that there are some things that the planning board is likely to look at in its review.
I would agree, and I think that issue of the setback from the front lot line is very important to this particular site and its historic character and the appearance of that scenic road. So just,
I'm not suggesting we're just like granting it, but what I am communicating is we've given access to other people on that road, the exact same, with the limit of lot size and everything else, we've given the same exact comment of, we expect the ZBA to rely on its own standard. Now, that's one part of the application. The second part of the application is what is in front of us, which is a different application. And in the sense of what we approve you to comment on.
Right, but we're making a referral to the zoning board, and I would say that that referral should point out the importance of this site. Unlike other sites on Mill Road, this is part of a National Register property.
And that's all, that's really
So
all.
let's point it out, and then, but it's really up to
They
them.
can rely on their own study of the facts, and we're not
Yeah.
going to do zoning board stuff, but I think
No.
we are being asked for our input, and that's the input that I would offer.
Yeah, I'm just asking them to be aware of the fact that this is a contributing building. It's not just,
Right.
we'll look
Part
at
of a
it.
much bigger.
Well, and it is identified, the two that are there that are their sisters are specifically called out in the National Register.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just identified as contributing without standing on their own merit. These have special language associated with them that, and simply to make them aware.
Right.
That's all.
And also, a little farther up Mill Road, there was the barn that the guy was building with a couple of propane tanks next to it. And because of the way the lot line was arranged, it was in front. And that's the kind of thing where, that's not the kind of property we're looking to.
Right.
That's not in the
I
spirit
certainly
of the
think
zoning.
it's important to let the ZBA know the importance of this site.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
And then in retrospect, they need to look at their own facts also. And then we have our own facts on our side.
All right, is everybody okay with just that addition? So may I have a motion?
So
do what we just said.
Which is simply to
point
pass
out
that to
the
rely on their
historical
own
But point out that
interpretation.
this is a
Correct.
Yes.
historic
that
site
we
that
do
is
that.
sensitive.
Can we have a motion second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.